Something like the Falcon soldier in Captain America today.
Yes.
It was feather, like, it was real feather. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Understanding the past is important because knowing history gives you the tools to prepare for the future. In part 2 of this episode, we bring you Asatizah from the Asatizah Youth Network that will provide you with the bite-sized answers to your most searched questions on the topic of Islamic history. When was the Islamic calendar introduced?
Believe it or not, the Islamic calendar was not introduced during the time of the Prophet ﷺ, but in fact it was introduced during the time of Khalifah Umar ibn Khattab radhiyallahu an during his caliphate. However, the months of Islam, Muharram till Zulhijjah, have already been established way back during the time of the Prophet ﷺ.
There were several suggestions with regards to the beginning of the Islamic calendar, but at the end of the day, they decided on the year where the Prophet ﷺ made the hijrah, the migration from Makkah to Medina, and thus we call it the Hijri calendar.
A very important event in our history. When was the Qibla changed?
So basically, the Qibla that we are facing right now is in the direction of the Kaaba, which is located at Masjid al-Haram in Makkah. This particular Qibla was changed during the time of the Prophet ﷺ during the second year of the Hijrah, whereby Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala commanded the Prophet ﷺ in Surah Al-Baqarah.
So Allah mentions in the Quran, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim, قَدْ نَرَى تَقَلُّبَ وَجْهِكَ فِي السَّمَاءِ. From then onwards, the direction of the Qibla changed from Baitul Maqdis to the Kaaba that we are facing right now as our Qibla.
From that incident, the Prophet ﷺ was actually at a place whereby he received that particular revelation, and interestingly today, that particular place is now
Masjid
a place
Qiblatain,
Yes,
or
Masjid
known as the Mosque of Two Qiblats. When did Islam spread to Southeast Asia?
From what we know, Islam actually reached Southeast Asia sometime during the 9th or the 10th century.
There are various theories on the emergence of Islam in the Southeast Asia. Amongst them would be the Indians who come from the mainland and Arab traders who arrived at the Malayan Peninsula as traders by the sea.
Islam came to this region by immersing into our local culture and tradition, and we can see there were a lot of mosques that was built with Majapahit architecture and not necessarily following the architecture from the Mediterranean. This is a very important topic as we discuss Islamic history. Women in the Quran.
The Quran honored and dignified women and its status, and we have Surah An-Nisa, which is the chapter on women that discusses a lot about the issues of women. The Quran also has a chapter on Maryam, which is the birth mother of Prophet Isa alayhi salam, where it mentions the special status of Maryam, how she gave birth to Prophet Isa alayhi salam, and without the support of her husband, and her entire empowering journey.
And in fact, the Quran also mentioned how Maryam was visited by an angel, and people who are visited by angels are given special status in Islam.
There's a surah called Surah Al-Mujadilah, which translates to the pleading woman who wanted the Prophet ﷺ to give a ruling pertaining to the misdeed that the husband did to her.
MashaAllah, that's how the Quran actually elevated the status of women and even address the needs and the agony of what women felt at that point of time. I think there are people who are curious to know who was the first Muslim to fly.
InsyaAllah. The first Muslim who tried or rather attempted to fly was actually Abbas bin Firnas. He was an Andalusian scholar, which we know now as Spain. He was a polymath also, meaning he was a brilliant person. He knew a lot of sciences and so on, and he invented other things also. But he attempted to fly using wings he crafted for himself and glided from a mountain.
How did Islam contribute to science?
The answer to the question would mean to know of a few notable names, and among them are Ibn Haytham, Al-Biruni, and also
Ibn Sina.
So a fun fact to note of, the word chemistry is linked to the word alchemy, and the alchemy comes from the Arabic word alchemia.
What is the House of Wisdom?
The House of Wisdom, also known as Baitul Hikmah, was built in the 9th century by the Abbasid caliphs.
They had this House of Wisdom built, in which they brought in manuscripts from the Greek, the Romans, the Indians, and they had scholars study these manuscripts in order to uplift the society and the community.
Indeed, this House of Wisdom actually contributed to the legacy of knowledge that Islam continue to practice until today. We have addressed many of your Google questions on Islam. So the question for you, how do you think as Muslims we should learn our faith?
I would say first and foremost, we shouldn't depend on Google so much on learning our faith. Alright?
It is best that we learn our faith through the right resources, and it should be coupled with an open mind and an open heart for the intention to seek the truth.
Get our clarifications and to get our questions addressed by accredited Asatizah and those who are really specialized in that particular matter.
Be better individuals every single day, and so that we can be confident Muslims in the world today.
That's all we have for today. The content we provide here is brief and in bite-sized. For more detailed discussions and answers,
Visit muslim.sg.
And do reach out to accredited Asatizahs.
we have come to the last episode of this series. Our Asatizah have shared insightful answers to your Google questions on the topic of love, marriage, family, social life, fashion, and of course on our beloved Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. We hope you have benefited from this series, and we hope to see you again inshallah. Assalamualaikum.